You know, we often think about the fight for freedom, a long, hard struggle that ends in a triumphant victory. But what happens the day after? What do you do with that freedom once you have it? That's the real test, and it's a question every single free nation has to answer for itself.
And that's the big question, right? How do you actually build a strong, free society that lasts? Well, today we're going to dive into this by looking at some powerful words from one of India's founding fathers, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. He was dealing with this exact question right at the very beginning of India's independence.
So here's our game plan. We're going to break down Sardar Patel's message. First, we'll see what he thought real freedom was all about. Then we'll look at his pretty stark diagnosis of the world at the time. After that, his blueprint for building a strong nation, his call for character, and finally, the huge task he left behind for everyone who came after.
All right, let's jump into Section 1. Freedom isn't free. For Patel, the freedom India won was something special. It wasn't just about kicking out the old rulers. Because of how it was won, with tools like sacrifice and nonviolence, it came with a much heavier responsibility. Patel draws a really clear picture here. I mean, think about it. The world had just come out of World War II, a war won with brute force and incredible violence. But India's journey, it was totally different. It was all about nonviolence, truth, and sacrifice. And to Patel, this wasn't just a different strategy. He believed it created a better, more moral kind of freedom, one that demanded a lot more from its people.
Wow, this is a huge warning against getting too comfortable. Patel is basically saying, hey, winning freedom isn't the finish line, it's the starting line. The real hard work of building a country was just beginning. If you just celebrate and stop, then you've actually achieved nothing at all.
Okay, so let's move on to Section 2. Patel wasn't just some dreamer. He was a realist. He looked around at the world, and even inside India, and he saw some serious dangers brewing that could threaten this brand new nation. He called it a world of poison.
And this is the man who delivered that urgent message, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, a true architect of modern India. And you know who he was talking to? Not kings or politicians. He was speaking directly to the youth, the generation that would have to live with this new freedom and make sure it survived. So what exactly was this poison he was talking about? Well, Patel saw that after the war, that spirit of sacrifice was fading. It was being replaced by, a kind of self-centeredness, where people cared more about their own interests than the good of the country. He saw this as a real disease, something that could completely undo all the hard work of the freedom struggle.
And this just sums up the whole situation. You've got this new, fragile country facing all these threats. There was disunity, a drop in moral standards, and the entire government system left in pieces after the British left. The new nation was just incredibly vulnerable. Which brings us to Section 3, the foundations of freedom. So after pointing out all the problems, Patel laid out a clear plan. He wasn't just there to criticize. He was a builder, and his main focus was on how to build a nation that could actually resist all these poisons and last for generations. This is really the heart of his plan. He's saying, look, the victory is real, but it's shaky. It needs to be consolidated, made solid. It's kind of like building a house. You don't throw a party when you've just cleared the land. You celebrate after the foundation is strong and properly built. And here, Patel uses this really powerful metaphor. He calls the new nation a one-year-old child. Just think about that for a second. What does a little child need? It needs constant care. It needs to be nursed, nourished, and protected. That's exactly how he saw India. The job wasn't just political. It was about raising this young freedom until it was strong enough to stand all on its own, with foundations so strong they were unassailable. So, how do you actually build these unshakable foundations? Well, this takes us right to the heart of his entire message, a call to character. Patel was convinced that a nation isn't really built with bricks and mortar, or even with laws. It's built by the character of its people. And there it is. For Patel, this was the absolute #1 ingredient. The single most important thing a nation needed was character. He believed that without it, no economic plan, no political strategy, not even the best constitution in the world could save the country in the long run.
So this is basically the to-do list he gave them. And just look at what's on it. It's not about getting rich or powerful. It's all about building your character, focusing on unity, accepting your duty, learning from real-life experience, and working with a total single-minded focus on the country. This, he said, is the real price you pay for freedom.
Which brings us to our final section, the unfinished task. This is where Patel really spells out what's at stake.
He makes it crystal clear that this isn't some kind of game. Building a nation is a serious, sacred duty, and the consequences of failing are just massive.
I mean, that is just such a chilling and powerful line. Patel is basically looking into the future and saying, we did our part. We won the freedom. But if you mess this up, if you let this amazing prize fall apart, you won't just be a disappointment. Future generations will literally curse your name for throwing it all away. The weight of that is just immense.
And right here, the torch gets passed. Patel makes it so clear. His generation won the prize. The next generation's job is to prove they are worthy of it. So the fight for freedom was over, but the fight to be worthy of freedom, that had just begun. And that's a challenge that still echoes today.
And really, this is what it all boils down to. Patel's message is that freedom isn't some trophy you put on a shelf. It's not like an inheritance you can just cash in and spend. No, it's a daily responsibility. It's something that has to be picked up and earned again every single day by every single citizen. And the question he leaves for all of us then and now is pretty simple. Are we proving ourselves worthy?